Hey, check it out. I got my hands on one of these super cool Blade Runner pistol squirt guns. Today, I'm gonna try and paint it to make it look like it came right out of the movie. Stick around to see how I do. Hello there, fellow maker. Welcome down to the shop. I've got my Blade Runner Squirt gun pistol here. In the package, this was sent to me from a wonderful man named Michael. Thank you, Michael, so much for hooking me up. This thing is awesome. It's got really cool packaging. I believe it came from Japan. And if you're looking to get one of these, they're on eBay right now. They're going for quite a lot, so keep an ear to the ground. The thing looks really cool. There is this orange cap. Not quite sure what that's for. I would guess that it would be like an orange cap to make it look like this is a safe toy thing, but that doesn't stick on there, so I'm not quite sure what that's about. Here we go. The gun actually looks quite good. I'm super impressed with all the detail all over this thing. I like that the made in China replaced the made in Germany from the original Steyr rifle. It's kind of cool. Overall, really great. In fact, I took a ton of photos of this before I plan on painting it, and I put those all up on my Flickr. There'll be a link down below if you want to go get some really great references of this toy. The first thing I want to try and do is see if these grips will come off easily. That'll make painting it a lot easier. I'm also going to take the plug out right here so I don't lose that, and grab a little chisel, and we'll see if we can take these handles off. I'm going to give a tiny bit of effort to see if this wants to come off. I don't want to force it because I don't want to break it. Let's see how it goes. This type of plastic can be very brittle. All right. I have determined that this is glued in, and if I try too hard to take it apart, I will probably break it, so I'm not going to take it off. I'm just going to have to mask off this orange because I want to keep it the way it is. I'm wrapping this blue painter's tape around the orange handles, and then I'm just using a sharp X-Acto to cut down the seam between the two parts there. And I should be able to just peel this off like that. And for all the work, the sanding and painting I'm going to do on this plastic here, the orange should stay nice and protected. There we go. I've masked off the handle. Hopefully that keeps this from getting dinged when I'm sanding it, and it will definitely keep it from getting paint on it. There are a couple more spots that I want to mask because I want to keep this color. There are these little red lights. Well, they will be red lights, but I don't want any paint getting on them. So I've got my masking fluid. This is liquid latex. Blarg. So I'm gonna try and get just a little bit down in there. There we go. Now, hopefully that'll keep that from getting any paint on it. And then at the end of the paint job, I can peel this out and then paint that red with a transparent red paint. We'll see how it goes. Also, these little bits here are supposed to be green, like little green LEDs. I can mask them now, and I probably will, but I imagine I will bump that off during the sanding process, so we'll see how it goes. The next thing I want to do now is try and minimize this seam as much as possible. And I'm going to start with some really fine needle files here. This is the wrong one. That's the right needle file there. And I'm going to really gently try and take that edge off. And I don't want to scuff up the surface around the seam too much because that means I'll have to go back and sand it nice and smooth. I'll have to do that anyway, but I'm trying to minimize that as much as possible. You can see that this side here is much higher than that side there, so I'm going to take off a little bit of material. As I sort of glance over both of them, you can see the shiny spot that's still between them there. That's where I'm trying to get down to. So I got those two sides flush. I have a whole bunch of these needle files as well. Like this round one here can be used to get into the grooves, the finger grooves there, which would be nice. This bit here, now I need to smooth out a little bit more. I'm gonna start with some 400 grit sandpaper. Hopefully that's as aggressive as I need to get. But I'm just trying to get rid of all the scratch marks from the file. That's looking pretty good there. The next step will be to go with this Scotch-Brite pad and scuff that up a bit more and kind of scuff up the whole area around it. Eventually, the entire gun is going to be scuffed up with this to help the paint stick. And if I can use this to kind of get that spot I fixed to the same level, then I'll be in pretty good shape. Going with a super fine steel wool kind of for the final buffing on that. And it looks all right. There we go. That seam is just about gone. There we go. There's the seam right there. And that's what we did to it. It is all gone. Here's another spot I was working on. You can see the seam still there. And up here, it's just about gone. So all I have to do is keep doing that around the whole perimeter of the gun. Yeah. Figured out the mystery of the orange cap. It does go on the end here. As I was sanding around this seam, I pried this part off and this part fits right on there. So now you got your safety orange tip that I will not be using. The other thing I came across while cleaning up this seam here, there's a line that runs across here and then just terminates there, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. But I actually have a Blade Runner gun kit that I got from a buddy of mine. Someday I'll put this thing together. A couple things. One, it actually says made in Austria, not Germany, like I said before. So, oops. And then this part here, this line, is for this metal cap part here. And I guess that's for the bolt action doodad to slide, like so, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a gun expert, but anyway, this line should be smooth here. Should be no seam back here, but there should be a line running up there. So I'm gonna add a line to connect this part up to there, probably with a rotary tool. There we go, we got a line carved in there. It could be a little deeper, I think, but I don't want to accidentally punch through the thin shell of this thing. So there we go, I'm almost done all the way around the perimeter of this. And then I can get to buffing and painting. Well, that took longer than I thought it would. The seam is all sanded flush, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now, before I can paint anything, this whole surface needs to get scuffed up. I'm gonna use this Scotch-Brite pad and then finish buffing it with this fine steel wool. What I'm going for is kind of this matte finish right here. So that's my standard. Yeah, so I'm just gonna buff everything down. This first thing really kind of just scratches into the surface like so. And then I can buff it with this steel wool, leaving a fairly nice smooth surface that will hold on to any paint that we spray on there. So I'm gonna keep on buffing. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and I'm not gonna show you that because that is boring. But trust that I'm gonna spend the next hour doing exactly this. I have made progress. Just about ready for paint here. You can still see some shiny bits inside of there. That's okay. Those deep areas are really hard to get to, and if the paint doesn't stick in there, it's unlikely it will get bumped off during handling, so I'm okay with that. Before I paint this, I'm going to do a little more cleanup with some rubbing alcohol. Boop. And I'm just gonna give it a wipe down to make sure there isn't any dust or smudges or anything that's gonna be a problem. This is just to help the paint stick better. So we're just gonna do that. Clean it all up nicely. Get it ready for paint. These spots that need to be green, while I was working on this, I definitely rubbed the latex off of there. So I'm going to apply a little bit more just to cover those spots again and remask them. I also need to figure out how I'm gonna hang this thing, and I don't want any paint getting inside there. So I think I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone and use this cap to hold a wire and poke a wire through there. Now this cap I don't want to use for the final because it's bright red, so I 3D printed my own out of Ninja Flex. There we go. It's nice and snug. It's black. It'll be a lot less of an eyesore than this guy. But since I'm not going to use this, I can use this as a way to hold my wire. Poke a hole through there, and then I'll take a wire, snake that through, and then just bend the end over on that so that it can't come out. That can all go in like that, and now I have a handy way to hang it. So now it's time for priming. One more thing, the nozzle, I don't want to get plugged with paint. So I hunted around and I found this pin, sewing pin, which fits perfectly, yep, right in there. Should be able to extract that no problem when I'm done painting. Yeah. Trying this stuff out here, Testors Lacquer Primer for models. So let's give it a go. That was a fairly light coat. I'm going to hit it with another one in a little bit, but I'm going to let this dry a little bit first. Get two good coats on there. Well, that looks pretty nice. That's about 3 coats or so of that primer, and it's nice and dry. Now it's time to lay down some paint. For the paint, I'm going to try anyway, this titanium silver. I normally go with like a chrome silver of the Tamiyas, but this is a little warmer, and I think it should be a little warmer, at least looking at reference images of the gun from the movie. So that's what I'm gonna try. I did a little test piece on a toy here, and that looks pretty good. I can always hit it with a little bit more silver if it's too warm for me. Channeling my inner Grant Thompson. I'm gonna throw my respirator on just because I plan on spraying a lot of this stuff. Oh. There's quite a cloud back there, hence the respirator. I gotta go open the door. Got a fan going now, and that's clearing out all of the nasty spray stuff. Good to go. So that's just the primer right there, and that's the metal. Kind of a dull shine to it. I like it. Let's do the other side. There we go. One good coat on there. I'll probably put 2 on this. And then I'm going to let this dry overnight. I want to make sure I have a nice, solid, dry base to do the additional layers, like the black on the bottom part here, and this needs to be a brighter silver. And that's it. I said I was going to leave this till tomorrow, but I think I can mask off this part here and paint it silver. This Tamiya paint, especially thinned with alcohol, actually dries to the touch pretty quickly. So I'm going to use some of the Tamiya tape here to mask off just this bottom part, and then I'll use plastic wrap to mask off the rest of it so I don't get any overspray on it. So this is just a really thin, kind of low-tack masking tape. Now this is going to go around the handle. It doesn't need to overlap where I taped because I'll use some more tape to bridge the gap. Like that. Nice shiny silver. And hopefully if my white balance is worth anything, you can see that this is a much brighter silver, and this is this is cooler, more neutral, and this is warmer. That's kind of what I'm going for there. Subtle, I know, but I think it helps. All right, I'm totally gonna let this dry overnight. Now, finish painting it tomorrow. It has been a full night of drying. This is nice and dry. And here's what I'm thinking. I want to protect the metallic finish on here, but I'm gonna do some black paint on the other parts, and I want that to be super shiny. It'll have a clear coat on it. So I'm gonna seal all of this now using this Metalizer sealer. This stuff's really great for helping metallics keep their shine, but also protect it. So I'm going to seal all of this now, then mask off the black, spray that with black, try and get that as shiny as possible, and then spray that with a higher gloss clear coat while it's still masked. So that this part, the metal, the stuff I want to be shiny metal, that way the metallic looking parts will stay masked. They won't get the high gloss on them. They're just gonna get this. That's what I'm thinking anyway. We'll see how it goes. Either way, everything's getting a coat of this sealer. And I'm spraying, I realize I'm spraying clear paint. Probably not the most exciting thing to watch. There we go. Got a couple of good coats on here. Looking good. I'm gonna let this dry for a couple hours, which is good because I haven't had my coffee yet today, so I'm going to do that. So this is the reference I'm working from. That's the gun from the movie, and I'm going to paint mine kind of like that. Now I need to worry about the black parts. I want them to look like black plastic. So I need to mask off everything that's the metal so I can spray on the black. Good to go. I have my Tamiya masking tape. This stuff is awesome. I have my coffee ready to go, which is good because it's going to take a while. This is going to be super tedious. That's okay. I live for this stuff. Got a little popsicle stick here so I can gently press stuff into crevices like that. I also have a tiny pair of scissors so that I can trim. Tweezers are good too for getting stuff into little spots that are hard to reach normally. Like that. And could you think of a better way to spend a Saturday morning than by carefully laying down tiny pieces of tape on a plastic toy? I can't. I'm thinking about what it takes to do a good paint job on something, and I think it really comes down to patience. Patience to do this kind of masking. Like the more time and effort you put into this part, the better it looks, and all you have to do is spray a layer of paint on here or two and peel it off and it looks amazing. You just gotta be patient. And then you gotta be patient to let it dry. And then you gotta be patient to figure out how you want to weather it so that it tells a story that's really cool. It comes down to patience. And unfortunately, I'm not very patient. But I will say, even though masking is super, super tedious, I do like this part quite a bit. Come on, buddy. And it is a very, I don't know, in my opinion, a very calming and relaxing way to spend a Saturday morning in the fall. One more tiny bit of masking with more of this masking latex. Just a little bit around these screw heads here. This is way easier than trying to just weasel a tiny piece of tape around this tiny little screw head thing. I will say that this brush will be ruined. So it's a one-time use, but that's fine. It's a cheap brush. The time has come to spray on my black paint. Gone over all the edges to make sure that the fit on the mask is really nice. So I'm going to start by hitting the edges. everything close to the edge of the mask. That's going to be kind of hard to hit later. Just to make sure I get it. And I'm actually kind of aiming for the base, where the part I want to paint meets the tape. But now that I have my details done, I can turn this up a little bit and get a little more paint out. And just try and cover everything else. That's one good layer on there, and I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Hit it probably with 2 or 3 total layers to get a nice smooth finish. If you're curious, I've got this respirator here with a quick release. Like that, so I can throw it on, make sure it's nice and tight. But then I can undo it, talk to the camera, have a sip of coffee. And then when it's time to spray some more, good to go. So I've got a couple of good coats of the black on there. It's just dried for a little while, enough to touch it. The next thing I'm gonna do is do some clear. So I've got a flat, or no, sorry, gloss, clear, semi-gloss, I guess, semi-gloss. Clear lacquer. Everything on the black is gonna get shiny. So that's what's going on next. So got my airbrush loaded up for some super exciting painting of clear paint. Whee! The clear paint is kind of dry, not really dry, but like I said before, I'm impatient. So I'm gonna start carefully peeling off the masking tape. I'm gonna stop for a second and think if I need to spray anymore. No. So I just always pays to double check and second guess yourself. Live in a constant state of doubt. I can start peeling a bunch of this stuff off. Oh, that looks nice. Oh. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. Something else I can do, hopefully, is scrape off the masking on these screw heads. There we go, with that peeled off, I've got a nice looking shiny screw head. Got my screw heads all cleaned up. I think I can take the handle wrapping off. Pretty sure. So I'm gonna do it. Look at that. Half of it off. That's looking pretty great. Oh, this is cool. This is exciting. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. That is pretty cool. But it's too clean. However, the clear coat on the black is not quite dry yet. So, as impatient as I am, I think I'm going to leave this. Let's see. That still works. Very good. I'm going to leave this and let it dry for a couple more hours. And then I will come do a light passive weathering. And I think that's all it'll take. I don't want this to look too dirty. Of course, this thing is hanging here and drying, and I'm impatient. I can't leave well enough alone. I found something else to paint. Got a piece of masking tape with a hole in it. It's gonna go over this screw on the handle. I should probably scuff this up a little bit first. Let's hit that with a Scotch-Brite pad so it's got a little tooth. Cool. Now I can paint it with some gunmetal. And this will probably take a couple layers, but that's okay. Oh. So shiny. I'm doing a pass of dirtying on the gun here using this these pigments. This is just a powder. A little more subtle. This is what I did on my recent Suros airsoft gun mod. So here's what it is without the dirt and grime. And here it is with the dirt and grime. It definitely helps. It's a little more subtle though. It's not like just doing a giant wash of black acrylic paint. So I like this. I don't want it to look super, super dirty, but I do want to give it a little bit of dirt and grime in the crevices. I'm taking my pigments and just cramming it in all the details, especially the text and in the deeper, darker areas, anywhere that's going to accumulate dust and grime. So that's a bunch of dust on there. I can blow away the extra and then go in with a damp paper towel to kind of wipe away everything I don't need. And I'm actually pulling most of it away. But it's staying down, like down in there. Kind of hard to see, but down in that crevice, it's definitely staying down in the text. And I want to make sure that it's not smearing over areas that I want to stay cleaner. So there, it's a little dirty in there. Now this stuff will stick pretty well, but if you handle it, it'll start coming off on your hands. So to set pigments like this, you can hit it with your thinner in the airbrush. In this case, I've got isopropyl alcohol in my airbrush here, and I'm gonna give it just a gentle blast. Just to dampen the pigments in there, the powders. And then when this evaporates, it will set that pigment. While you spray alcohol on your surface, don't touch it because it's a thinner. It will thin your paint and make it malleable. But it evaporates super fast. You can see, good to go. And now my pigments are set, and I'm just gonna go over the whole thing like that till it looks nice and dirty. Now we can see if the latex masking that I put in here a long time ago will come out. And it will! So in there is a shiny piece of plastic, and I want to put some of this transparent red paint in there. Now I don't think it's going to be bright like a shining LED, but it'll be a little bit red. Well, it's definitely red. A little subtle, but it kind of looks like a shiny LED that's not on. Definitely subtle, but I think it looks all right. The rest of the masking here should come off nicely. There, I hope. Again, kind of subtle, but I know it's there. Cool. I think the last touch is going to be this screw right here. The rest of this is supposed to be plastic, but that looks like, according to the reference, a metal screw that's been painted and then the paint has rubbed away. So that's why I have rub and buff. So this is the silver leaf rub and buff. And you get just a little bit on the tip of my finger. Oh, even less than that. Buff the edge of that screw very carefully to add a little bit of wear to that. Well, let's see how I did. That's kind of all right. Obviously, this monitor is not color corrected. My kind of warmer metallic top piece here, maybe a little too warm. I don't know. It still looks kind of cool. But that's neat. Only thing to do now is to fill it with water and test it out. There we go. Got water. Got my 3D printed plug. All right. Oh, ha, there's a pin in the barrel. Let's pull that out. And now it should be able to squirt. Yes, it veers a little left. It's a little... It can shoot around corners. Still awesome. was a lot of fun. This thing looks really, really cool, and while not dead on screen accurate for a squirt gun, this thing is pretty astonishing and a lot of fun to paint. So I hope that you can get your hands on one. Keep an eye out on the internet. Maybe they'll do another run of these things. But if you do and you paint one, I want to see it. So make sure you tweet me at Chinbeard on Twitter. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the shop today. If you enjoyed this, if you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As always, all the tools and materials that I use for this build will be linked down in the description for your convenience. If you like this painting video and you want to get more, we've got a playlist full of all sorts of painting tips and tricks, as well as repaints of other toys. So go ahead and check that out. That is it for today. I actually have to go watch the new Blade Runner. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going tomorrow. Gonna be awesome. I'm really excited. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you in the next build. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our new weekly prop and costume tutorial videos. For more goodies, head over to our website where you'll find blueprints, tutorial books, articles, and more. We also have a second channel for our Q&A show and extra behind the scenes videos. Thanks again and happy crafting.